Hello everyone, I'm back with another art book review for the IBWD series. If you have followed my channel, you will notice that the newest book I have reviewed probably came out around 2022-2023, and most of the other books are much older. There are some reasons for that, but generally speaking, in my opinion, I think that the value of a book is not affected by the year it was published. As long as anyone finds the value in it, people will still buy it. And the reason for such a long intro is that because today I'm introducing another own book of mine. It was released at the very first decade of 21st century. This book completely mesmerized me for a very long time, and the book is 1000 Music Graphics. Its full English title is 1000 Music Graphics, a compilation of packaging, posters, and other sound solutions. The first reason why I choose this book to review is that compilation books like this give us a broad overview of specific genre or a particular era in art. Simply put, with digital music, you just need a small square digital image file to represent the whole album. While with a CD, you will need a crisp printed cover with a booklet inside, printed with lyrics and artist photo. With just these two simple examples, you can see a huge difference between the two platforms. So with cassette, CD and vinyl records regaining their popularity, I think it's only natural that we're paying more attention to the graphic design of these physical products. Another reason I choose to review this book is that I could see trends in both fashion and graphic design bringing back the early 2000 aesthetic. And those trends always show up in the visual side of music, especially pop music. And looking back at such a collection of graphic design for music in the early 2000s is very fascinating to me right now. And a very personal reason I choose to review this book is that these album covers and poster was the exact source of inspiration that made me fall in love with graphic design at the first place. That passion eventually led me to various paths. It got me to explore and learn and try many creative things later on. I don't know if any of you are like me, but back in my teenage, I didn't just listen to the music. I would hold the CD case like this, flip it back and forth, and viewing the booklet and let my imagination run wild with all these images. And I guess now you know why this book was a massive source of inspiration for me. Now let's talk more specifically about this book. It was published in 2008, like 18 years ago. I actually got my hand on this book a few years later. It was gifted to me from a university friend who was a very good graphic designer then and now is a prestigious art director. Thank you again, Chị Nguyên. The size of the book is quite compact. Inside, there are over 900 beautifully color printed pages, almost entirely images. As for the outside here, let me give you a closer look at the cover. The exterior has circular grooves mimicking the surface of a vinyl record. And when you put it out, you see this is a compilation of various album covers. And this specific image right in the middle is cropped from a famous Lou Reed album cover. The author and art director of this book is Clif Stoltze and his firm Stoltze Design. From what I researched about him, the author started his career driven by his love for music publication. He even co-founded a small indie record label with his friends, where he served as the art director for their releases. This book is part of the 1000 series, a prestigious collection of compilation books that cover many topics. All of the books in this series are very easy to browse through because they rely heavily on illustration with very little text. As the name 1000 Music Graphics suggests, inside are exactly design samples ranging from album packaging and music promos, and artist branding, merchandise, web interfaces, and even software that related to the artist and their publishing. As always, before getting to my personal thoughts on these books, I'll do a quick flip through so that you can get a general sense of it. I've looked through this book countless times over the years, and revisiting it now, here are the things I love most about it. First, because this is a compilation of music design spanning roughly a decade, from the late 90s to around 2007 or 2008. Flipping through it is like taking a quick tour of the standout design from a major decade in the international music industry. The artists featured here aren't just musically successful, they were visionaries with a progressive aesthetic for their time. You can see that in how they chose to invest in packaging and promotional materials with such distinct individual personalities. Second, because the design in this book reflects the late 90s and Y2K aesthetic trends, it really highlights how any trend or movement is ultimately temporary. When I say aesthetic trends here, I'm mainly talking about fashion and graphic design, things aimed at masses and deeply tied to pop music. Looking back at the design trends of a specific era, you realize that some things only look good and make sense within that exact historical context. On the flip side, there are designs that transcend the limits of passing trend. There are the designs that, even years later, still don't feel outdated or boring. So I just give you an overview of 1000 Music Graphics, a valuable reference book for music product design. By the way, if you like this book, I would like to recommend a similar one. It's called 1000 Record Covers. It's a collection of the best album covers from the 60s to the 90s. I haven't read that one yet, but I discovered it on the internet while researching for this review. I hope you all continue to love beautiful books and support my channel. For now, goodbye and see you in the next video.